and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today, I wanted to look at a oil painting by the master John Frederick Kensett. John Frederick Kensett was considered a member of the Hudson River Valley School. He was American 1800s, and I believe he resided on Long Island, New York, which is where I grew up. So kind of have a connection with him in that sense. Recently, I did a little study of part of the painting, and a lot of things jumped out. And I had talked in the study how I wanted to do a video like this discussing some elements that he used. Whenever I hit a wall or I feel like I'm having difficulty figuring where I want to go next with my paintings, looking at an old master painting for techniques, colors, composition, etc., really helps me get back in line and sets me right back on the path. So the goal here is to look at this and to hopefully encourage y'all to look at old master paintings and see how you can grow your paintings from them. Now, I am not the best at this, but I will try my best, and I'll also be using this program to zoom in and zoom out. This painting itself is up on the National Gallery website. It is entitled The Beach at Beverly. The website itself has a fantastic zoom in tool, and you can see a lot of detail. With me having to save it and open this app, I do lose some detail with it, but you'll get the gist of it. So when I was doing my study, I was really looking at this region right here, and I'm going to zoom in a moment. From a distance, I think a lot of people, myself included, would see this as a clump, and we see some tree trunks here, 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 here. We see some branches. We also see the leaves that look nicely and clearly painted in. When we zoom in, a lot of this is going to be far from true. So let's zoom in. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to scroll up. Okay, you can see a good portion of it. And you can see that we have tree trunks and a lot of tree branches. The tree trunks are comprised of, I believe, about 3 tones. We have dark, we have a medium, and then we have a light that takes place. So this right off the bat really shows how he, instead of just putting a green clump down for the foliage, he went over it with this brown, probably kind of haphazardly. Like, I don't think, or if I was to try it, I wouldn't spend a lot of time putting this in. But the overall result is a lot of different textures taking place. And when zoomed out, so let's zoom out, it doesn't look like just a clump of color. So we might be tempted to just paint one single color in that spot. But if we can do textures and have some variety in it, it'll definitely help out. And notice how the colors themselves, they're kind of close in value. They're also close in tonality. So we don't have a crazy amount of perceived detail taking place, but we can see how it just blends and meshes and works together. So that's something that I would like to carry over into my paintings is, putting this branch texture in kind of willy-nilly. There is a pattern to it, and I would like to see that where that takes me to my next level. Whenever it goes over the background, you can see that there's a little bit more life in the tree trunks, so more interest in those spots where from a distance they're going to be more easy to see. More easy to see, so he put more life and effort into it. Okay. Definitely different than the other ones that we had seen throughout because they're more visible. We have that change in tonality and it draws our eyes to it, so we can have that more detail there and put the more life into it. Foliage-wise, from a distance, it looked like it was nicely painted in. And obviously, as we zoom in, you can see it's kind of dry brushed or even laid, I think in like this direction right here. For the most part, we see the sky color coming through, and there's probably even areas where he had painted the sky color coming in. Me personally, as we get closer to the inside of the trees, I have a hard time leaving the sky color in there, and I've been experimenting with painting back into it. So I'm not sure exactly what he did, but I would think that something like this, he went back and painted that sky color there. And with watercolor, you can mix your white gouache with some color from the sky, some Naples yellow, whatever you had used, and kind of go back and forth along those edges. Notice how, let's see if we zoom out, he breaks up the monotony, and this also gives us 3D effect by putting these clumps of foliage right here instead of just having tree trunk branches. It adds more interest by going in that realm. So there's one other thing I want to look at before we start looking at the composition itself. And I want to look at this section right here. How further back foliage, and to show the light coming behind the tree but hitting these trees, he either mixed in his white or passed over it with light washes of white, which are both things that we can do with watercolor. And I encourage experimenting with that, where we can go back and forth with that white and letting it take over the painting in spots. I think personally, that's what I consider part of luminism, is the atmospheric effect of light and how it interacts with everything and how at points it seems to consume it. I shifted over without zooming out to the sky, the water, and the horizon line. You can see that they're really close in tonality, really close in color. Everything just really seems to almost blend together. And that really gives a substance to the air itself. And if you look along that horizon line, just the very faintest idea of a land across. This is probably just a little peninsula coming out along an island. All right, now I'm going to zoom out in a second, and I'm going to look at the composition. But before I zoom out, I want to zoom here. You can see that there's two people on this ledge. One person is looking in this direction, the other person is looking in this direction. It'll be important in a moment. There's also another person back here with what looks like to be a horse and carriage, which I hadn't noticed until recently. So let me zoom out. Okay, and then we have this guy, and you see where he's looking as well. That's going to be important as well. Okay. Now we are back painting. Put on the drawing tool. Okay. So I'm going to follow kind of the guidelines of the contours of the landscape and see where they're directing us. If we follow along here, we go along this ledge, we go across the top of this rock, it brings our eye to that region. This line is a little bit steeper, but it does come up around the same point. The tops of the trees brings us to that point right there. The base of the rocks bring us there. We have this more sharper line, which starts bringing us up into this region So I'm just going to put it right there for right now. This viewer, the guy on the boat, the guy outside the boat, looking out in this direction. So everything, a lot of everything is guiding our eyes to this location. This is kind of the center of interest or a point of interest within this. Now there's a second center of interest that takes place. And we'll start with this guy looking. This guy looks right over here at this man in the boat. The lady that I had told you about looks down here. Remember that other guy looks out this way. Our kind of shore is bringing us to this guy. The tops of these rocks bring us out here as well. So two center of interest that he has lines, whether they're lines in the painting itself or just the direction that people are looking in that bring us to this point. So I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to practice with these and hopefully get better at these videos over time. And I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, follow. And if you want to support this channel, I have the Patreon down below. Thank you to everybody that supports through there. All right, I will be back soon. If there's a painting you want me to look at, let me know. I would love to start this as a series. I did one in the past with Ivan Shishkin, so I'd like to do more of them. All right, on that note, y'all take care and have a great day.